attention, I just wanted to give you my take on Bitcoin. You can see here our chart from 2013 when the price didn't really register because around $10 or so, and we got this first massive impulse where the price jumped from $100 to $1,000 in 2013. That's where it first caught my eye, and I bought in at $800, FOMOing in as the price went up, and I made 30% on the first couple of months, and then watched my investment go all the way back down to $100, where it stayed for the next 1,100 days. Fortunately, I didn't sell. Bitcoin obviously then went into its unbelievable parabolic growth phase where everyone heard about it, everyone jumped on board, but the price got well ahead of itself and then came back down to reality. It has always found support since at this trend line, and we've also got this overhead trend line that remains in play here. It's stubbornly sticking to it at the moment, which is very interesting, and I'll show you what is underpinning the price and why I believe we're about to see a big breakout above here and a new bull market for Bitcoin. So remember these dates, 2013, 2017. Now, where's my first chart? So this shows the halving of Bitcoin. You don't need to worry too much about it. It's a logarithmic scale, so each one of these is the power of 10. So we go $1, $10, $100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. And you can see that Bitcoin has continued to grow along this kind of logarithmic curve, and again I'll show you what that means for us in a minute. But what's important is this time since the last halving where we have a red indicator. You can see the last red indicators was here, 2013, when we saw that huge jump from 100 to 1,000, and here, I'll move my cursor over, in 2017 where we saw the unbelievable jump. We should have really got to 10,000 or so, but things got ahead of themselves to 20,000. Now what's interesting is we just got our first red dot again for the first time in 4 years, and that indicates that we may well be about to go into our next huge growth phase for Bitcoin. And there's a couple of reasons aside from these fundamentals that I really feel very strongly that is going to be the case. One is that there is now a fund on the stock market called Grayscale. They are allowing basically institutional investors and corporations to buy into Bitcoin. Beforehand, it was very messy and difficult for them to do so. They couldn't hold Bitcoin in a wallet. They had to buy it through. Now they can buy it through a stock. They can, appropriately pay taxes. It just is a way that Wall Street is able to now buy into Bitcoin, and these guys are buying 1.5 times the amount of Bitcoins being mined. What that is that creates a floor in the market. That means that demand from Wall Street is ensuring that Bitcoin can't really drop down that far, and that's why we're seeing the stubborn hugging of this line up here. And that is particularly interesting. Another thing that is interesting is that we can look at that same logarithmic curve and we can see how true Bitcoin has been to this, because there is a finite amount of Bitcoin in supply. Most money is obviously, we have quantitative easing from central banks, and we have inflation built into the system, and so as I've told you, your money goes down in value by 3% every year. That's not the case with Bitcoin, and if we continue to, we'll never see this unbelievable growth again, but it's logarithmic, remember, so up here is still quite considerable growth for you. So you can see that if we do stay true to this curve, we will be approaching $50,000 a Bitcoin by the beginning of 2021. And it feels like a ridiculous amount of growth to go 5x. But if you consider now that corporate money can buy into Bitcoin, if you consider that this is the digital gold and that gold is rallying considerably as people are worried about the underlying value of the US dollar and its potential inflation, there is a strong case for this being the time, when you put all these pieces together, that we will see a breakout. So watch Bitcoin very closely. It may be that we drift down along this trend line for a while, but I wouldn't be surprised the next time we see a intervention from the Fed, or we see an escalation in the current crisis, that Bitcoin spikes and quickly jumps up to 12,000, maybe 14,000. And then from there, who knows where it could go. But I am extremely interested in Bitcoin. I wouldn't recommend holding more than 5 or 10% of your portfolio in it. And one thing, if you are holding a sizable amount of money, most people don't like gold and Bitcoin because they don't yield anything, so they don't have a dividend. But you can use now Blockfi, which is as legit as you can get in the crypto space. So Blockfi is a company which is set up by the Winklevoss brothers. They're the guys who initially came up with Facebook, and Zuckerberg stole it off them. And Blockfi has institutional backing from the likes of Fidelity and many big names on Wall Street. So these guys are as legit as you can get. And if you hold your Bitcoin with them, up to 5 Bitcoins, they will pay a 6% yearly return, yearly interest on your Bitcoin. So that's extremely interesting to me. So that's one of the reasons, well, that is the reason that I think everyone should be holding some Bitcoin. All right, I hope you found that useful, and speak to you soon.